Thank you so much for coming back, joining me again. What we have to deal with today is this very cool, albeit very dusty, my fault entirely, you know, being in the shop here. It happens. Anyway, I could have at least washed it first, right? What we have here is a 1950 Willys Jeepster. Very cool. Originally would have had the either the 4-cylinder Go Devil engine. The owner probably told me what it had in it. Probably the 4-cylinder. There was an optional 6-cylinder. I think it was the Lightning. And this one is set up with also the optional manual overdrive system, which is one of our jobs eventually. But let's come in, take a closer look, and we will get to work. So this vehicle was brought to me. This guy reached out to me, and you'll see very specific reason why and how he found me. But we're just gonna walk around, take a little bit closer look. We got a lot of parts. Overall, very cool. I believe he thought this was restored in the 80s, perhaps. And if that's the case, it had not been used very much since then, that is for sure. I apologize for the state, for the dust, but that's just how it is when it's stored in a shop where you're working and we're out on the farm, right? So overall, very straight, very cool. The little sport Phaeton, as they called themselves, as Willys was trying to bridge the gap from their utilitarian image to the car market. And it just didn't pan out for them in the big picture, right? Not many families are probably gonna choose this as their option. I don't know why not, but they didn't. Come in close here, we get the old lid popped off. We can indeed see within the fenders here, this is not a Willys Go Devil. This is a 194 pulled out of a 1962 Chevy 2, and they got her shoehorned in here already for us. But that's kind of where our work begins, is the shift linkage for the transmission, the overdrive, manual overdrive linkage, the exhaust, intake possibilities and options of what we're going to do there. We'll do some wiring, so on and so forth. And if we take a quick look inside the back seat here, you see we have some interesting options to play around with. All kinds of parts. I don't know if those were bearings or seals. We got brake lines. Looks like we have 12-bolt.com cast iron headers as well as our regular tube headers to play around with. Let's go around the other side. I want to show you that thing though. We are talking about and weighing our intake options, but I think this thing, I mean, it's a work of art. It's a beauty, but if this was liquor, I don't think this 194 could hold it, you know. Pretty cool. Dual Webers on a Clifford intake, but I'm just not sure that's the direction we can go. So, on this little thing. So, we've got to weigh our options as far as exhaust, as far as intake, as far as carburation. But the very first thing we've got to do before we can get anywhere is unlock the rear wheels. This one's got the pretty typical go forward but don't go backward, locking up the wheels when you go one way but not the other problem, where I'm pretty sure it's maybe a brake lining has come loose and is jamming underneath the other shoe problem, right? So, got to jack up the rear end, let's get some tires off and let's start figuring out if we can make this thing roll, and then we can put her up on the lift and start playing around and looking into shift linkage. All right, here we go. Okay. Alrighty. Cotter pin on a rear axle. Holy cow. Well, Father Flanagan, that's tight. Oh, wait. Wait. No, don't. Just wait. Just wait. No. Not working on a Chevy here, boy. Okay, they're still tight. Wow. Oh, that one, oh, let loose. I'm gonna have to let it back down. Yeah, Bubba, I think you got it tight. That or one of these millennials that works on cars these days just gave her all the onions with the electric impact, right? Kids. So far, everything is just being obstinate, you know? That's okay. That's what we're here for. The other side, the lug nuts were a normal torque. You know, that wasn't a problem. Now you've got to come out. See, why are you like this? Why do you gotta be like this? There you go. Now, is their axle left-hand thread or right-hand thread? Well, let's get the wheel off. First of all, guy. Already forgot what you were doing, didn't you? Okay. Well, our drum is wet, so that's a problem. Right-hand thread on that. And we're gonna have to get physical with it here. I don't have a puller. I'll see if I can knock this off. Alrighty. We've got the eBay special here. Alright, a little bit of anti-seize on it. Let's put a little on the tip too. Yeah, let's just make a real big mess. How's about that? Just that easy. Got a hold down clip. In our box of goodies here, we find a couple things. Must be hood seal or something. Some kind of cable, don't know if that's for the overdrive. We got a couple of brake hoses. Assume those might be for the fronts. They're a matching set, so we'll check that out. But we do have a couple of Crown wheel cylinder rebuild kits here. Again, not sure if these are front or back. What do we got? If there's a size on there, I can't read it. So, anyway, we'll have to look into this, check this out if this is correct for these rear wheel cylinders. Probably wouldn't be a bad idea to get 2 more, even if they are, and do the fronts, do the rear hose. Just make sure this thing is going to stop for a guy. We're going to get all the grease, all of the brake dust, asbestos dust, brake fluid, whatever else we got on here, we're going to get it off. Not going to mess around with possible asbestos, so we're going to soak her down with degreaser, brush it off a little bit, and I'll string the water hose in here and flush it off. Anybody needs a good band name, I'm thinking Rags and Plastic Bags would be a good thing. You know, I'd appreciate if you give me a little credit for it, but you'd be pretty cool, I'm pretty sure. Well, you guys have seen this a dozen times, a million times, whatever. You've probably done it a million times. Albeit the trend for the last 30 years has certainly been replace the whole cylinder rather than rebuild them. But nevertheless, we are going to rebuild these because we were supplied with kits. So we'll just give it a quick honing here. We're going to lubricate it with brake cleaner as we do this. It has become a matter of routine with me. I can't tell you how many times I have had plugged up bleeder screws. I've already blown air through these, but you definitely want to check that. Push some air through it, push some brake cleaner through it, whatever. And if they are plugged up, get a torch tip cleaner, get a needle, a T-pin, something, and clean it out. I have often even had to take a tiny drill bit and drill out the dirt and the debris caught in there. And then you can clean it out. Then another thing you want to do is you want to blow through your steel line, your supply hole here, and I'm getting brake cleaner out into the cylinder, and your bleeder hole screw, and we're getting it through so we know that's clean. I'll take that out into the sun and make sure we got a good good honing in there anyway. But I am going to choose not to use the supplied springs. The ones that I got out of the cylinders are a much more high quality looking spring, and it will help keep the cup expanded a little bit better there. Now we are just going to lubricate all the parts with brake fluid as per usual. As per the usual, right? that in there, get our piston in there. Spring. Other cup. These appear to be a 1-inch wheel cylinder. Okay. Everything's so darn slippery now. There we go. Voila. So I am a fan of something on this brake setup that I wish other early makes would have done. It's pretty handy. But then there's the hold down clips. I'm definitely not a fan of, and I'm glad that other makes did not adopt this method. But so I don't know if that spindle's already in here. So right down in here we have a slot and a tab punched into the backing plate. See the slot and the tab, and our little hold down clip accepts those. And so the challenge is, if I had my special brake pliers here in this shop, I would try to undo this spring. Now this spring is stout, I'm here to tell you what. So kind of fighting against that thing, but if I can keep that on, that's what we need. So I'm just throwing that in there. And I may need to do this the other way around. I may need to start with the rear shoe engaged, but we'll try it. And I may just have gotten it, not sure. It's acting like I did. Yeah, okay, that went a lot better than the other side. You just got to get this side in place without messing up the boot. Wow, okay, well, things went a lot better there. Now the thing that I do like, obviously once they went to self-adjusting brakes, this would have gone in the way of the 8-track tape, you know, but we got an eccentric adjuster here, an eccentric bolt, and a guy simply turns that. I think I got the wrong size of the wrench. Where's my 9/16? Okay, a guy simply turns that, and now I'm spreading. What's going on here? It's not liking me on this side for some reason. I'm spreading the shoes out when I go this way, and I'm going to adjust them all the way in. It's no longer making contact there, and we will take care of that when we are all back together. The other side, when I was trying to put the drum on, the shoes were fighting me, so I just adjusted it all the way in, and when we have it on the lift, we will take care of that at some point. We of course have to check out all the other brakes. Okay, throw this on. Not going to worry about a pin or anything. We're just going to get this on, get the wheels on, so we can scoot it to the next bay. We're coming in hot, bay 2. Well, let's take a little look-see underneath here. I see we might need, well, I mean, that's all quite old and dry. That looks a little damp. Might need to re-seal the, I bet you it's from there. I bet you it's from there. Old and nasty, but solid under here, you know. So our Chevy engine has a leak, and well, I thought it was from the dipstick thing, but it might be from higher up. I'm not sure if it's from the side covers or from the pan. Even the valve cover looks wet way up there, huh? Kind of hard to tell. We'll see what we can see when we get up there. But you can see the mounts that were made to drop this thing in here. Got the Z-bar for the clutch, and that seems to be like it might work, you know. So here's our shift rods. They got clearance enough, but they just aren't working for some reason. Steering gear's all wet. Everything's just kind of wet and greasy, you know. That looks like a brand new hose. As does that. Seeing a lot of new hardware, a lot of new grease zerks. This definitely is not a new hose. So we will have to replace that. That thing looks kinked off completely, almost. Yeah, so I guess I can make a new line for that. Old shocks, newish fuel pump, some kind of crazy fuel filter, generator bolts barely hanging in there. Well, I guess we'll get to work. So while I was under there, I removed our exhaust system. Okay. Actually, there is a brand new tailpipe and muffler and a short section of intermediate pipe coming towards the front, but nothing else was connected. I've got two options of headers. The owner is well aware that neither one may be usable, and frankly my hopes weren't too high moving into this, but I'm not so sure now, especially for the tubular headers. We'll see. But you can see we only have like a 6x6 roughly square window here to get pipe through. Now there's a little more room back here, but we got cross bracing and so forth down there going under the transmission and so forth. So let's take a look at the headers and kind of go from there. But right now I'm kind of thinking I'm going to pull the carburetor and the intake off. That's another question of debate. This is a Carter YF carburetor. Probably I wouldn't be at all surprised if that's original. I have no clue what originally came on these. I would have to look into that, but would not be surprised that that's it. However, we can see how it runs with it. A Rochester Model B would also be a good carburetor to use. We'll just see where we get, but for now, let's take a look at these headers. All right, I've got our two different styles of headers for that was supplied in the back seat of the thing, and I have my doubts about both of them, I suppose. I think probably the one I would suspect would work better than the other is the old typical tubular headers, but I have no idea. This coming straight back first is probably a good thing. There's more chance certainly for that to go down our small space that it needs to, but then what do we do with this? I'm not sure. We also developed, once I got it on the lift and at a different angle here, the oil pan is really leaking, so the worst of it has absolutely got to be the dipstick. This one has, the dipstick doesn't go through the block, it goes through the oil pan. So it really should have dawned on me from the beginning, but I didn't even think about it, that instead of head bolts in line with the intake ports, we have pipe plugs. And so we got the lump kit already installed. I mean, this 194, it's a hot one, I guess. So anyway, the first set of headers, the ones I was pretty sure was just not gonna work, is also from 12 bolt there, just where the lump kit came from, I'm sure. Especially the rear header there, there's just, you know, there's no way. So the front one, maybe, I mean, you'd have to put an immediate S-bend in the pipe, but you could get that going, but there's just no way for this to clear all that we have going on there. I apologize, here's a better look of the rear one. We can't even get it in place because we're already here hitting the mast for the steering shaft there, and you know, we're a couple inches away from getting in line. And then immediately below the flange we have the shift linkage, so yep, not gonna work. One of you is gonna have to fill me in. What's the cable operated horn about? Huh. Something doesn't sound good in there. Anyway, the only way, I've got these tubular headers on here. Now I don't see any maker's mark, any tags attached to either one of them or anything. The rear one looks really nice. That goes right down there where the stock exhaust goes. Now the front one, we're heading right towards our clamp here that has our throttle linkage on it and so forth. The only way I see this working really, I mean, exhaust shops do amazing things fitting pipes through places that you wouldn't expect, but you know, so it could maybe almost go straight back and down, but it'd be really amongst all the shift linkages and so forth. You could curve it outward towards the inner fender here and then go around the steering mast and go down there. Now you certainly wouldn't be doing yourselves any favors for future repairs, but if a guy wants duals, that's kind of the territory of modifications. That's the stuff you got to deal with. So we'll see what he says and we'll get back to you. Now I need to contact him regarding what he wants to do with the exhaust. I'm going to send him some pictures and see if he really thinks he wants to go that direction or not. As far as the intake goes, we're just going to ignore the dual carburetor setup. I just think that's way too much and way too small a space for this car, and frankly too much for a 194. Like I said, we could go to slightly bigger one barrel, modifying a one barrel to accept a 2GC as I did for my 81 crew cab that we still need to get back to. That's an option that frankly I think he was open to, but we haven't even proved that works yet. He may even be willing to spend the money on a 4-barrel intake with an adapter plate to go down to a 2-barrel. We'll just see. Need to get some feedback on that. In the meantime, I'm going to turn my attention to the wiring. One of the things on the list was that there is a short and he specifically said the ammeter. And yes, I've started poking around. I've got a clamp on the ground wire here, and we do have pretty much anywhere I go on what would be hot wires, I'm getting a ground. So we're going to take a look at what we need to do there. So I had to look it up what a Jeepster model is. Now, I think it's kind of known as a VJ3 in 1950. There is no VJ3 here, but he has 663 highlighted and written on the cover of this manual. We go to that 663 wiring diagram, and we certainly have it, but nothing is labeled. We have a numbered key here, but we have no, or everything's numbered, but we have no key to tell what's what. And we have a horn relay by the looks of it on the firewall there, but I see no horn relay, nothing that's showing itself as a horn relay here. So for now anyway, and I see this is even a 6-cylinder model. Knowing what I know from the Chevrolets, typically, and I double checked that this is a negative ground system originally. First, I wouldn't have put it past Willys to have been positive ground, but it is negative ground, it appears. You typically have a big wire from your starter going to the horn relay, feeding that, and cigarette lighter if supplied, which, let's face it, in the 40s and 50s, half your people were using it, right? And then that goes to your ammeter, and then out of your ammeter, ignition switch, voltage regulator, and light switch. So I think what I'm going to start with, I could start with any one of these really, but I'm just going to go through and start disconnecting the main power feeds to each one of these and see if we can eliminate that short to ground. Now, I of course have no real understanding or insight into what's been done on this car. There's a lot of original looking braided wire, whether it's new braided stuff or not, but I'm going off of your typical Chevrolet operation, and I really don't know if anything is too correct on here anyway. We had this jumper wire going from one post to the other on the ammeter, so they were simply taking the gauge out of the equation, so to speak, for whatever reason. But what I'm going to do, I'm going to disconnect everything from the ammeter, and I'm going to mark my wires so I know what post they were on, and then I'm going to check continuity to ground from each bundle of wires and see which one is shorting to ground, and then from there we're gonna follow where that goes. And we only have one wire on that side, the ammeter, which is strange. We have no cigarette lighter hooked up. It's right here, but it's not hooked up. So, get my tape and mark that. The other stuff disconnected. So I'm going to tell you what I'm thinking, and I'm thinking I'm justified. I'm not just trying to make excuses and walk away. I am thinking at this point I am going to look into an all-new wiring harness. I could pull everything out, start tracing wires, start repairing wires, start redoing wires, but for the cost that I believe I can get a replacement harness, I don't think it's going to be worth it for him. A lot of it is original. A lot of it has terrible splices. You can see that's all frayed. Going to lights. A lot of it is modern wiring. We've looked at the horn already. A lot of it is snipped and just left. You can just see the general state of things here. We've got Scotch locks. We've got splicers. We've got random fuse holders everywhere. Lines not connected to anything. Huge bundles of original wiring just tied back. Huge bundles of more modern wiring just tied back. Switches, aftermarket turn signals, modern radio speaker wires. More Scotch locks up there. A lot of it frayed, a lot of it spliced, a lot of it confusing. I'm not sure how new or old this catalog is. 2022. The Jeepster man. I may give them a call. I think it's right here. If this is our model, turn signals with the L head, turn signals instrument cluster, turn signals speedometer, overdrive wiring, wiring harness clip. All original Jeep wires from front to back with original color coding and new materials, made in USA. $350-ish. So I honestly think we would be well ahead if we just bit the bullet and did that and just made it correct. Well, okay, I just got off the horn with the owner, you know, the boss, and he kind of feels the same way I do. Now, he is completely open to whatever we do here as far as intake, exhaust, whatever. And he feels the same way I do. If headers don't work, if they're not convenient, he's perfectly fine with the stock manifold. If you don't have headers, do you really need a high performance intake? He's perfectly fine with the stock intake. He's perfectly fine with a one barrel carburetor. So we kind of just settled on me looking for a good rebuildable core of a Rochester B again. Gotta love those carburetors. He wants manual choke just because the vehicle's equipped with manual choke. He absolutely is not interested in like the Holley Sniper one barrel outfit. So again, thumbs up. I'm completely happy with that attitude, you know. So most likely it's looking like we're gonna retain stock manifolds, rebuild a good Rochester carburetor, and then that exhaust is probably something easy enough that I can whip up here and connect to the tailpipe. As far as electrical goes, I am going to get on the horn to the Jeepster man, and we are going to talk to them and order a complete wiring harness for this, 12 volt with turn signals, and everything else we need. And also I want to ask them about seals for the steering gear. Once all of this is done, then we can look into, then we have it running. I can be testing the linkage and the shifting and how that all feels with the engine running, and then we will dive into that and the overdrive, and I think that's really the end of his list. So, and I have to seal up some oil leaks as well. So for now, I think this video is long enough. We're going to call it quits. We've done plenty, and now it's time to order parts and move on. And he can return a lot of bits and pieces that he invested in. I may even buy a bit or a piece. Who knows? I think that's it. So I'm going to get busy doing that stuff and then get to work on something else for now. I really thank you guys for joining me. I apologize if this was another echo fest. I'm trying to talk quieter, but it's a tin can that I'm working in right here. So thank you so much for joining me, for putting up with it anyway, guys. God bless you. See you on the next one. See you on the next one. See you on the next one.